Hello y'all, how y'all doing? Let me check and see if everything seems to be working fine. So, I'm back after my vacation. As scheduled, I noticed that my chat, which for some reason isn't showing in this little style type deal. I might fix that really fast and give people some time to pop in. All right, see what we have here. So I wonder why the chat adjustment thing isn't working. But awesome. I'll give people some time to pop in. Looks like we have one viewer here. Hey, what's going on, Gentleys? Ah, okay. Thanks for saying. That's okay. He could pull some of the flat earth believers over there. That'll give us a lower flat earth viewership. So, Akunis, I was going to talk about some interesting things that popped up that I thought about talking about before I went on vacation. One interesting thing while I was on vacation, I had another out-of-body experience. So I've been working on getting back into it, both to do some experiments and to get my next book going, at least one of my next books going. As many of y'all probably know, let me move this up some. Boom. To Travel Far, the one on my left is my first book, and Galactic Travels is an upcoming book. So I work on going out of body and traveling into space more. I've been into space about, well, at least 3 times. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know how many times altogether, but specifically to explore space, I went into outer space three times so far. Not counting being on an alien craft or anything like that. And but I plan on doing a lot more explorations of outer space via out of body travel, and even trying to do like what is his name, Ingo Swann did, and maybe get some data about outer space locations that they're about to send a satellite to and things like that. So, but it takes some practice to work up. I guess that was about a week ago now. I had an out of body experience where even though I was away, I popped out in my apartment, which I thought was pretty strange. Welcome, Loken. Welcome, Bandsaw Bandit. Good to see y'all as well. When I pop, oh, and here's the link if anybody wants to join. So I just plan on talking about this out-of-body experience I had recently, and then just talking about some space things that I've seen pop up, like on my Twitter feed, and then seeing if anybody wants to hop on and talk about anything in particular. So, an experience-based talk today. Oh, I guess it's usually experience-based. If anybody wants to join at any time, here's the dial-in information. Boom. But so I was away, and it took some effort, but I popped out of body, and I actually popped out in my apartment. So my physical body was at this other location, but I popped out in my apartment. which is not, I guess, in a sense so odd because for years I would end up in the house that I was born in. But I was thinking, okay, this could be a lucid dream, even though I just came out of a lucid dream. And I had some difficulty walking, and I had walked across the apartment floor. I walked past a chair, and one thing I noticed about the environment seemed burnt. Like usually when it's nighttime and I'm walking through an environment, it does have a monotone type color, like a monotone bluish white type color. Uh, in my early experiences when I used to walk around the neighborhood a lot, the neighborhood used to be in this monotone bluish white color. But this time it was like a burnt color, like burnt black, gray. I could even smell burning. And I was hoping when I got home it wasn't sensing an actual fire that happened, which wasn't the case, thankfully. But I was walking with a bit of effort, and when I touched the chair, it felt solid. And I remember my friend Lewis telling me some experiences you have to actually open windows to leave and things like that. So I was prepared to open the door when I got to the door, but my focus started to wane. I could feel myself starting to lose consciousness. So I focused a whole lot, and my vision straightened up, and it was almost like a static clear. Like there was a brief moment of static when I was trying to focus, and everything cleared. But pretty soon I lost consciousness. You know, the last of like about 10 or 20 seconds. But as a start for warming up, that's how it usually happens. You warm up and you have a short experience, and it ends up being a bit longer. And eventually I plan on going to the outer space again in more focused trips. So one of the next books I'll put out, Galactic Travels, I have at least 100 out-of-body experiences where I focus on going through the solar system and other galaxies and things like that. Mostly in the solar system, things that I could verify. So that'll be coming up. But that was a brief out-of-body experience I had like last week. And I still, if you want to read Travel Far, by the way, you can see the link at the top. You can go to darrellleeberryjr.com. You can go there to read Travel Far as well as to sign up for the Out of Body Experience course I'm offering there. So the link is there for anybody who wants to sign up. So another thing I was going to discuss. If there's any questions about that Out of Body Experience, let me know. Also, if anybody knows why the chat, the little sort of customization of the chat is not working at the moment. If anybody knows the reason for that, you can let me know that as well. So I was going through just collecting some things on my Twitter feed. So I signed into several different space things and things like that. Let me show this thing here. Boom. So there's the web thing at the top. One cool thing I found, the Mars rover, the Curiosity rover. So I didn't realize, I guess I didn't really focus on that thing too much. But that thing has been on Mars for 7 years now, taking pictures of Mars. This is one of the pictures that is taken of Mars. I think it's just such a marvelous indication of just science and engineering that they have this thing up there rolling around. I even found the satellite picture where, like, if you see behind the rover there, you can see the tracks that is leaving on the Martian soil. And one of the satellites they have rotating around Mars, it was actually able to take a picture of the surface where you can see the rover and you can see the tracks left behind the rover. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it makes me very curious about how it's working, like the strength of the transmitter it must have. So it's transmitting data back and forth between here and Earth. I imagine it has a solar panel on it to help get some energy. This is from the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory site. It says NASA's Curiosity rover has come a long way since touching down on Mars 7 years ago. It has traveled a total of 13 miles and ascended 1,207 feet to its current location. Along the way, Curiosity discovered Mars has the conditions to support microbial life in the ancient past, among other things. Now, the masters that visit Gary Renard, these ascended masters that just appear in his living room, he wrote books like The Disappearance of the Universe or Your Immortal Reality. They said that the life on Earth, if not all life, a substantial portion of the life that eventually came to Earth came from Mars. Apparently, they had some kind of ecological disaster or a conflict, whatever it was, whether it was a meteor or a war or something, that destroyed the planet, similar to the way that we're going. At least we're going. I think obviously there's timelines of where it'll get better. Hopefully, I align to one of those timelines. But apparently, people, human beings, lived on Mars, and then migrated from Mars to Earth after the conditions on Mars were had deteriorated, or before it deteriorated to the point where they couldn't live there anymore. Makes me wonder what happened to their crafts. Like, of course, we know that the surface of the Earth sort of recycles itself every so often. Like, we have volcanoes, and they make new land and cover old land. So, if we had the technology, perhaps if we was able to dig far enough, if it hasn't been destroyed by pressure and temperature, perhaps we can find some of these alien technologies below the crust. But it's possible. Curiosity is now halfway through a region scientists call the clay-bearing unit on the side of Mount Sharp inside Gale Crater. Billions of years ago, there were streams and lakes within the crater. Water altered the sediment deposited within the lakes, leaving behind lots of clay material in the region. The clay signal was first detected from space by NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter a few years before Curiosity launched. And that's one thing we'll talk about in a bit, the Mars Curiosity Orbiter. This area is one of the reasons we came to the Gale Crater, said Christian Bennett of the U.S. Geological Survey, one of the co-leads for Curiosity's Clay Unit campaign. We've been studying orbiter images of this area for 10 years, and we're finally able to take a look up close. So, if they haven't already, I'm pretty sure they'll find remnants of societies that lived on Mars. We're probably familiar with the image of the face on the moon, the face on Mars, like that face, and the pyramid people found and things like that. So, later people have come and said, "Oh, that's just reflections of light and light and shadow that made it look that way." I don't know. I didn't look at it too closely. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an actual face, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's an actual just light and shadow. But either way, I'm certain that there was life that existed on Mars before Earth. Now, one interesting thing about the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is the same satellite that's mentioned in this article, that took pictures of Mars from orbiting Mars. They also took and turned the cameras of that thing towards the Earth. And this is one of my favorite pictures of the Earth here. So this is a picture of the Earth and the Moon captured from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. With a camera strong enough, you can see some continental structures of the Earth, some clouds. You can see the water, of course. You can see the moon there. It seems to be it's hard to judge exactly where, but I guess I'm sure the moon was, let's say, its absolute max distance perpendicular from Mars. I'm sure to be way outside of view. So the moon has to be pretty close to hitting an angle where it's in line with the Earth and Mars. And I see a comment from Gently's here. There are some clearer images of the face now showing it is just a rocky outcrop. Pretty cool, Gently's. So Gently has found that the face is just an outcrop. Not surprising. It's kind of far away. But yeah, but I'm certain the masters haven't steered me wrong yet. Of course, if anybody's not um, experienced in like A Course in Miracles and sort of its perspective and the experiences that you might have from implying it might be hard to accept the idea that these ascended masters visited Gary Bernard, but I understand it enough to know to accept it. So yeah, I don't think they ever mentioned the face at all, but they just mentioned that life was there. So hopefully they find some other evidence, and of course we can't count on the scientists to tell us about it if they did. So I'm aware that mainstream science, or at least the current government, is pretty keen to hide the existence of alien life. But perhaps I can go there out about it. Maybe that could be one of the things I could do to try to see what evidences we might find of life there. But I love this photo of the Earth from Mars. Pretty cool. You can see how just like the planets from us, it's interesting to think that when we go to other planets, we're the extraterrestrials there, even though, of course, extraterrestrial wouldn't be the proper term. I don't know what's an old name for Mars, but what, extra Martianal when we go to Mars. So pretty cool. But Mars reconnaissance orbiter. Take a look and see what that thing looks like. Right, let me check out this comment here. Gently is while eyeballing stuff from Mars. I did see that there was evidence of mitosis inside some of the rocks brought back. I'll grab some links once I'm finished eating. Sounds good, Gentlies. It stands to reason that they'll find evidence of life there, possible evidence, he says. One of the interesting let's say interesting, but circular. That's how I would say circular reasonings that I've seen people put forth. Like some people who believe in a religious perspective might say, well, how can you explain that the Earth is perfectly made for human life here and so on and so forth? And that's not really any argument at all. It's an argument of ignorance, I guess you could say. I mean, it is an argument of ignorance or denial. Which I'll talk about when I finish one of my new parts to that documentary of the principles of flat Earth. I notice that same denial that flat Earthers have, where they don't want to look at or consider the other side, is the same perspective that religious people take as well. Like you can say, well, God could have made the Earth to perfectly match humans, or you could say, well, since humans evolved on Earth or in Earth-like environments, then it stands to reason that they evolve in such a way to live in that environment. So just the fact that we match this environment can simply mean that we evolved in environments like this. It could also mean that, of course, we know that the sun goes through cycles. So in earlier cycles of the sun, when it was cooler, Mars could have had this environment. Then when the sun heats up, then Venus gets too hot and so on and so forth. And Earth has this environment. And then life could evolve here or transfer here from elsewhere like it did from Mars. So there's so many other explanations than the idea that it was specifically made just for this type of life. Or that other planets can't support this type of life. They can have life that evolves there that matches that environment. So any microbes that they find there, I would consider it to be remnants that survived whatever catastrophe happened there. It seems like microbes and things are examined to say, well, this microbe proves that life could be here, or maybe life could evolve here, or it could support life. But guess it depends on what camp you're looking at. I guess they could also be looking at it to see if life could have been there. But I'm pretty certain in the near future we'll be visiting Mars. But cool, that was the Mars thing. Thanks for your comments, Gentleys. Now, one interesting thing I found on Twitter, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, they had this 1-meter solar telescope that captured this very detailed image of a sunspot. I think that's pretty cool. This is like one of the closest images of the sun we've ever seen. And if you look at it, you can see how they talk about how, even though of course this is not applicable everywhere, but the idea like as above, so below, or the fractal sort of idea where there's every single, let's say, scale contains every other scale in the miniature or in maximum or a greater sort of scale of it. And when I look at this, it almost looks like a cell. Like if you look at this area here, it almost looks like different cells inside the body. Like if you look at a group of cells under a microscope, this could even be something like the nucleus of a cell. It's pretty cool. But it's actually a sunspot on the sun. And you could also see how, like of course we know that the sun is this big massive ball of gas that's burning, and it has fusion, and it's like an ocean. So it's like the sun is just like the water on Earth, just like an ocean that has tides and waves, and you can actually see the movement of the gases in the sun with this detailed photos. I think that's pretty cool. I remember seeing somebody, even though I don't think this is an actual video, but I do think it's an interesting idea. But they showed this video of the sun, and supposedly there was this large object next to the sun, and what they purported was that some planet-sized spacecraft, I guess, I don't remember the actual scale of the image, but it was huge compared, relative to like anything else that would be next to the sun. Apparently, like the Earth is like that tiny next to the sun, like little bitty thing. This thing was huge, and it seemed to be siphoning energy from the sun. It almost looked like a solar flare, but a solar flare was going towards the craft, like it was siphoning energy from the sun. I don't know if that was real or not, but it is interesting. Like it's pretty clear that they're spacefaring aliens, and Gary Renard spoke of the masters taking him on an out-of-body experience and taking him to a planet-sized spacecraft that was powerful enough that it patrolled the galaxy, much like how we might patrol streets here or something like that. So I can certainly see a craft that big being able to power itself from the sun. Riley Martin, who knew these race of beings called the Biavians, they took him to this planet-sized spacecraft, and he said that they would mine water from the rings of Saturn. Like apparently the rings, they contain a lot of ice, a lot of frozen water, and they would actually mine ice from the rings, and that would be the water they would use in their craft. So I think it's pretty interesting, that idea. Something else I think is pretty cool. This here is a full 360-degree image of the moon taken by the lunar orbiter. So we have a satellite that's orbiting the moon, and this thing took obviously a whole bunch of clips of images together. Oh, certainly. There you go, Gentleys. Let me turn my stove off really fast, my oven. So Gentleys is going to post a link about some microbes that may potentially be on Mars, which I'm certain it can be the case. But I think this is pretty cool. We're so used to seeing only one side of the moon. With the Mars orbiter, we can see all the different sides of the moon. It looks pretty detailed too. I imagine they might have cleaned this thing up. Well, I mean, less is resolution. I know there's bases on the moon, even though the one that I visited through the outer body state, it was an underground base. I don't know how much of it was on the surface, if any of it was. I'm sure they had to have some kind of entrance on the surface, but it could be just a small entrance. But I imagine there's more on the surface of the moon than they're showing. I showed you all that book on one of the streams a few weeks ago. Where the guy showed images of things on the moon that look like little objects moving across the surface. Check out this link that which he'll post it momentarily. But I thought that's pretty cool right there. So I want to take a look and check out the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. This is what this thing looks like. Looks pretty basic actually. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter mission at 5:32 p.m. in Eastern Time, June 18, 2009. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket roared off the launch pad at Launch Complex 41 to begin the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing satellite missions to the Moon. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter entered lunar orbit on June 23, 2009, and after spacecraft commissioning, the exploration mission began on September 15, 2009. The exploration mission was focused on supporting the extension of human presence in the solar system. LRO continues to help identify sites close to potential resources with high scientific value, favorable terrain, and the environment necessary for safe future robotic and human lunar missions. The exploration mission completed on September 15, 2010, when responsibility for LRO was transferred to NASA's Science Mission Directorate for a 2-year science mission with a new set of science goals. The LRO mission has been extended to continue lunar science and exploration. So some of the things this thing is cool for: first, deep space precision orbit determination by laser ranging from Earth. First, global thermal mapping of a planetary body covering a full range of local times and seasons. We'll check the comment here. Link not posted yet. First, biostatic radar imaging measurements from Earth to a planetary orbiter. First, multi-beam laser altimeter system in space. More than 5 years of laser altimeter measurement, yielding more than 8 billion topographic points, better than any other object in the solar system. Full collimated epithermal neutron detectors in space. Wow. First use of tissue equivalent plastic in deep space radiation detectors. Pretty cool. First use of tissue equivalent plastic in deep space radiation detectors. So it seems like they're testing for human viability in space. Some of the LRO exploration and science results are: in polar shadow regions found the coolest spots measured. Wow. Below 30 K in the solar system. So there's spots on the moon that's below 30 Kelvin, they're saying. Discover significant subsurface hydrogen deposits in regions cold enough for water ice to survive, as well as in additional hydrogen deposits in warmer areas where surface water ice is not thermally stable. Measure surprising amounts of cerebral volatiles and gaseous cloud release from the Cabeus by the lacrosse impact. New less than 5 years old impact craters are found to be widespread across the lunar surface, with a surprising abundance of related surface changes. Developed an improved catalog of lunar craters larger than 20 kilometers in diameter, thus providing constraints on the ancient impact of population that affected the inner solar system. First radar measurements of the lunar far side. Improved the age dating of small landforms by using crater counts from the new high-resolution images. Discovered that the moon is in a general state of relatively recent contraction. Characterized relatively young volcanic complexes such as Aina and reveal first direct evidence of the presence of high silicate volcanic rocks on the moon. Measured galactic cosmic ray interactions with the moon during a period with the largest cosmic ray intensities observed during the space age. Mapped in detail the temperature, UV reflectance, and near-surface hydrogen abundance of the moon's polar cold traps. Created the first cosmic ray albedo proton map of the moon, and made high-resolution images of robotic and human exploration sites that showed hardware, the tracks of the astronauts, and surface disturbances from landing and ascent. Pretty cool. So apparently there's some temperatures that destroys water. So this is a high-resolution free air gravity map based on data returned from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory mission, overlaid on terrain based on NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Altimeter and camera data. The view is south up, and the South Pole near the horizon, with the South Pole near the horizon on the upper left. So the South Pole is around here. The terminator crosses the eastern rim of the Schrodinger basin. Gravity is painted into the areas that are in or near their night side. Red corresponds to mass successes and blue to mass deficits. Pretty good stuff. It's awesome to see the depth of investigation that these people do. It's refreshing. So I think it's good to immerse ourselves in real science instead of basically shortchanging ourselves by immersing ourselves in flat stupidity or ignorance or denial or delusion or laziness. People are doing real science. Pretty cool stuff. Now, another interesting thing that I didn't even consider until they started showing up on my Twitter feeds is people were out there taking pictures and video of the Soyuz MS-13, the Russian spacecraft, go towards and dock with the space station. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. Like, I heard about the Soyuz going up there. I thought that's pretty cool. And we can see some videos of the launches and things like that, but here's some pictures of the Soyuz going to the space station. I think that's pretty cool. So this picture here is within 10 minutes of the Soyuz docking with the space station. And I wonder what the zoom is. That's some pretty good detail. So I think it's marvelous. I think we should applaud these people with the immense work that they're doing. I think there's 3 people on that thing heading towards the space station. Think of the precision and expertise that it takes to pull this stuff off. To take people on Earth, put them in the crowd, send them into Earth orbit to connect with a spacecraft orbiting the Earth at what, 17,000 miles an hour? The timing, the understanding. These guys are awesome. Guys and gals. There's ladies there too. And this is a video of the Soyuz approaching.
Будет небольшое отклонение.
There will be a slight deviation still.
Ну, вот оно отбирается.
Yeah, but look, I think it's getting better.
Ожидай касания.
I'm expecting contact.
Есть касание.
Contact.
Confirmed.
Contact confirmed. Capture confirmed.
Mechanical
Docking confirmed.
We confirmed the same.
Docking confirmed at 5:48 p.m. Central Time, 6:48 p.m. Eastern Time over southern Russia.